So I wanted to start off today by borrowing something, a little thing that I learned off Facebook recently from Howard Choi. Because in fact, one of the things that I've learned about Feng Shui is I'm a very tactile person. I like to go out and experience things myself. So I've run Feng Shui tours of Hong Kong and China for many years. And I've also attended a number of Feng Shui tours too. So I thought, as an introduction to what I know, and also the research that I've been doing over in China, that's the topic of my talk today. And so I thought I'd start on a global perspective, on the macro perspective, and talk about what we call Xian. So Xian is what is called bringing out the image. It's about bringing out, looking at something from a Feng Shui perspective, with Feng Shui eyes, and bringing out the image of what you think that means, you see. And this is part of the form school of Feng Shui. So this is the very subjective part. It's the part where we use our own interpretation of what something looks like. So I wanted to start by showing you the map of China and to ask you, what shape do you think it represents?
The heart.
The heart, yes, could be a heart. What else do you think it could be? Any other suggestions? What does the shape look like? It's actually an animal.
It's a chicken.
A dog, a rooster. Who said rooster? Very good. Actually, it's a chicken. A chicken or a rooster. To the Chinese people, this is what they say is the shape of China. It looks like a chicken. And if you think about it, well, a chicken sustains, the billions of population of Chinese people. They eat a lot of chicken. Right? So when we look at the map of China, we see some interesting things, right? Here is the head of the chicken. There's the body of the chook, the breast, the legs, and the tail of the chicken is here. So when we look at the tail of the chicken, you see, people always say, why doesn't China give Tibet, free Tibet, and give them back? Well, you see, then they would lose the tail of the chicken. Right? So I don't think that they're likely to do that just because they want to keep the tail intact. And all the golden eggs get laid out here, you see. So that's part of the symbolism of China. And so they want to keep that all in one piece. The beak of China, the beak of the chicken, I should say, is up here, you see. So we see the shape. So that's what we call calling out the image. I'm not sure what the word means, but shang means an image or a picture. And in face reading, it's called mianshang. And mianshang means, well, face reading, to read a picture of what you see on the face. So Heshang means to call out the image, and I'm going to show you other images, and you can use your creative imagination to your interpretation of what those things mean. Okay. So first we start at the neck of the chicken. Well, because the chicken can't eat, it doesn't have any sustenance. And of course, this is where Beijing is located. So on our tour, of course, the most important place to start with is the Forbidden City. And I've been there twice in the last couple of years to study the Feng Shui there. And I found out, firstly, that it's actually called the Purple Forbidden City, Zi Jing Cheng. I think my pronunciation is okay. Thank you. So Zi or Ze, the word Zi actually means the purple. And it's the name of the pole star in the sky. So in the southern hemisphere, we can't see the pole star, and we can't see the Big Dipper. So you're probably familiar with that star constellation up here. In fact, last week I was I've been in Israel for a week. I was teaching face reading there, and while I was there in the countryside, I was looking up at the sky. Even though it was the second day of the full moon, I could still see the constellation of the Great Bear, which is called Beidou in Chinese, and it's the 7 stars. It looks like a saucepan, you know that one? And every year it rotates around the pole star, which is called North Celestial Pole, you see. So the pole star is sort of the center of the universe in the Chinese way of thinking. In heaven, the pole star represents the center of the universe. It's the celestial pole that the Earth rotates around its axis, pointing towards that point. And over time, over thousands of years, that point actually changes. but it's called the purple star, and if any of you have studied Ziwei Daoshu, you would know that it also is purple. The purple star is talking about in that topic as well. So the Chinese say everything that is in heaven is also reflected on earth, and so we have the Forbidden City called the Purple Forbidden City, using the name of the pole star to reflect that the emperor is in his palace as the center of influence of the world, so to speak. So here's like where the world rotates around him. So that's where the name came from. So this is the emperor that actually built the Forbidden City, the Yonghe Emperor, if my pronunciation is good. And he actually died 4 years after the Forbidden City was built. And I have some theories about that, which I'll share with you. So this is the actual proper gate to the Forbidden City, and you can see it's called the Wu Men Gate. And I wanted to show this because this is the year of the horse, and the character Wu is also the character for horse. And in Feng Shui, this is one of the 12 animal signs. It represents south. So this is the south gate, and it's also the horse gate. So instead of calling it like south gate, which is a bit boring, they call it the horse gate, if you like. So in fact, in the old days, instead of saying north, south, east and west, the Chinese would use the 24 mountains and point to a direction and say what it represented according to the stems and branches and the diagonals of the 24 mountains. So you can see there's 3 entry points. The main entry point is for the emperor only. So even today, when there's no emperor living here anymore, you're still not allowed to enter through this central gate. And you can tell the importance of a building in architectural point of view, a Chinese building, by the number of bays that it has. So this one has 9 bays. Now a bay is the space in between the 2 poles. That represents 1 bay. So this is a 9-bay building. It's 9 bays, and I think it must be 10 poles, right? 9 bays, 10 poles. So, and it's 5 bays deep, 9 bays wide. So that just shows the importance. It's the greatest number of bays, I think, that you can have on any building. And in fact, you know, in the old days in China, nobody was allowed to have anything representing what the emperor had. So I would say that there was no other buildings that were 9 bays wide except any ones in the Forbidden City. Okay, so then as we enter the Forbidden City, the most important building, some of the pictures, some of the words haven't come out, but the most important building in the Forbidden City, I would say, is called the Hall of Supreme Harmony. It's the central building in the Forbidden City, and that's where the emperor would sit when people came to visit him. It's also the highest point inside the Forbidden City, and in fact this version of the Hall of Supreme Harmony is a new building. The original one was burnt down, and then they built a new one. It's a bit lower, you see. But actually, when you're up there, you can see over the walls to a certain extent of the Forbidden City. So it's like the emperor is able to look out upon his subjects. And it's also in the center, and the center is what we call in face reading we call it the Minggong. It's this point here on the face. So if we imagine the Forbidden City as a face, then the center is where the Forbidden City, where the Hall of Supreme Harmony is, and that central point is called the seat of the stamp, because the emperor would have this gigantic stamp, official seal. And if you've ever seen the movie, the Last Emperor, it took a few men to carry this up to the emperor if he needed to stamp something officially. In the movie, it was just this heavy thing. So the seat of the stamp is also in face reading, that same point there. And you often see paintings of the emperor with a sort of raised area here. This is Minggong, it's called the Life Palace. And it's sort of raised up on the face. So if someone has this area raised up, it means that they're very official, their destiny is very strong. So it's a sort of symbolic thing. It's another way of looking at the symbol, looking at a face, looking at a building, and seeing what we find there. Okay. So you see here, this is an old Harper's magazine, and there's the Forbidden City shown. The roof You see, it was actually higher in the old days. That must have been the older building, maybe. But I was trying to find a picture that showed that when the emperor said he can look out on his citizens outside the walls of the palace. So this is the chart for the not all the buildings of the Forbidden City, because some of them have been reconstructed. But this one was built. The construction was finished in 1420, which was period 5, and we know that 5 represents the emperor. So of course, this is an auspicious time to build your building. And Emperor Yongle, he must have known this, so he built the building in period 5, and he only had 4 years of the building being a Wang Shui building before it became period 6. So what I mean by that is, you see, when you look at the chart, we have the water star 5 at the front in the south, and the water star 8, mountain star 8 in the north at the back. So this is a very interesting chart, because we always say in Feng Shui, mountain at the back, water at the front. And we know that that's good from Feng Shui perspective, right? That's always the best thing. So if we can match the forms, the environment, with the formula that we use, this is the Flying Stars formula, and of course it depends on what system you use, but I specialise in Flying Stars, so that you see that the chart matches the forms. And what I found quite interesting about this chart is if you add up all the numbers in each palace, the water star and the time star, each one adds up to 5. So we have all these ones, all these water and time star, each one adds up to the number 5. And then if you add up all the water star, and mountain star and the time star, each one adds up to 6. So 5 represents the emperor and 6 represents heaven. So the emperor rules over heaven. So I see that as a very strong symbol of why they would pick this particular chart to build for the Forbidden City. This is sort of, if you study Flying Stars, this would have to be the basic, the most important chart in all of the star charts, because it's the original one where everything else came from. So, because in China, well, even everybody else wants to copy what the emperor's doing, which is why I want to talk about this building first, because then when you go through other places in China, everybody likes to face south. Now that's of course because the sun arcs around the sky on the south, and maybe because the north winds are colder. So you build a house facing south, you get the passive solar effect. So this is part of the environmental influence as well. So you can study a little bit more about that. The Hall of Supreme Harmony in the centre and the Medic Meridian Gate at the front. You see the water star brings in the chi of the number 5. So one other thing too, why did he only live, well, until 1644 he died, because after 1644 it changed to, 1624 it changed to period 5. So the imperial city lost its auspicious arrangement. Not for another 180 years will it get it back again, or 160 years, until the start of period 5 again. Okay, well, that's my theory anyway. All right, so here we see a hill at the back, and this hill is a fake hill. It's called Coal Hill. It was made with coal, and they actually brought it in because we want to support the mountain at the back. That's the good forms. So even if you build your own mountain, it would take a certain amount of time for the mountain chi to support the building, because earth chi rises up through a building or up through, if you create a fake mountain, it will still take a certain amount of time to rise up. So if they built that mountain before they built the Forbidden City, maybe it would have had time to create a mountain effect. But there it is today. And of course, well, here's the rubber ducky. This is the imperial rubber ducky. Actually, it's not really, but I just thought I'd include this picture because I liked it. When I was in Beijing last year, it just happened to be the rubber ducky was at the Summer Palace. So here we are in a very famous and very interesting building. This is modern Chinese architecture. It's the China Central TV building. And when I went on a tour with Hao Choi a couple of years ago, and one of the first things he asked us to think about was what is the meaning of this building? What is the symbolism? What is the image that it calls out to you. So I'd like to have a look at that and then give me some answers. What do you think? What is the image that it portrays to you? What does it look like? Any suggestions? I can tell you what the Chinese call it, but I want you to guess. One guess. A pair of legs, maybe? Actually, the Chinese call it a pair of pants. A pair of pants or a pair of pajama pants. Because it looks like a couple of legs walking. And some of the people who were in the class with Howard, they said, one person said, it looks a bit like a giant stamping on all the small people below, that type of thing. But actually, when I went visiting the year after, I went to another area of China and I saw something remarkable, and it reminded me very much of this building, and I wonder if you can see that here. This is the building. And this is called Tianmenshan. It's a hole, right? It's a hole inside a rock, big enough for a fighter jet to fly through. In fact, they did fly a fighter jet through there once, and they won't let them do it again in case the whole thing collapses. And you can see the number of steps there are going up. So I was quite exhausted when I got to the top, I must say. I thought I was fit, but other people were passing me on the way up. It's very, very steep. And you can see the shape of the hole. Now, Tianmenshan, Tian means heaven, Shan means mountain. So, and Men is a gate. So, heavenly mountain, a heavenly gate mountain. Those three characters. Tianmenshan. So, in Feng Shui we use the word Tian a lot. Tian is heaven, Di is earth. Yeah, so we use those two expressions a lot. And so Heavenly Gate Mountain, it's like the gate that leads to heaven. So I saw some correlation there between that hole. Rather than looking at the actual building, I saw that the hole that the building creates is the same as the hole created here. So I see that as a metaphor for China Central TV, the main TV station in China, being all pervasive and spreading like heaven, spreading out in all directions and being in a position of power and authority. So that's my little bit of He Shang about that. So the other thing I noticed last year is that there's been a lot of construction in front of that building. And they're actually building another building in front of it. And it just happens to be in the south direction. So in 2014, the south is called the Tai Shui. It's because this year is the year of the horse. So the horse year is the Tai Shui, and if you do any construction in the south of your building in 2014, it can disturb the Tai Shui. So disturbing the Tai Shui can bring about some negative situations, depending on what you're doing and what type of construction there's. I mean, but any sort of disturbance of the earth can create disturbance to a building. So I haven't gone into too much detail about what could be possibly happening there. So now we're going to Shanghai province, and I wanted to show you in Shanghai province the pagodas, because people often ask me about pagodas and what do they mean? Well, actually a pagoda is a symbol of Buddha. And in fact, when Buddhism came into China, the Buddha's relics were brought with the monks who were introducing Buddhism into China, and pagodas were built. But in the old days, I'll show you an original pagoda. They weren't called pagodas then. Original pagoda that was built to house Buddha's relics. So this one, this temple here, or pagoda, inside the underground part of the pagoda is actually a golden room. You see this golden room? And inside the middle of the golden room is a relic from the Buddha. Now, a relic usually means a piece of bone after he was cremated or something, that actual piece from the Buddha's body. That's what they call the Buddha's relics. And they're very, of course, sacred things. So here's another temple, and this is the oldest wooden pagoda in China. And we went to see this one with Howard. And inside that building, when they were renovating it, they found a piece of relic, which was Buddha's tooth, that's what they say, inside one of the statues in one of the floors of the building. And you can see how remarkable this tooth is. It actually has purple crystals inside of it. So I thought it was really remarkable. So in fact, even just traveling to China for me, I won't say I'm Buddhist, but I like Buddhist philosophy. And so it's a bit of a pilgrimage for me to see some of these places. So this is actually the original type of pagoda, and it's called a stupa. And it's not the sort of stupa that you get after a hard night on the town. This is a proper Buddhist stupa. So, and the different shapes of stupas represent different things. So this one represents nirvana, and it's in Wu Tai Shan in Shanghai province. A really amazing, beautiful place. Well worth going to, but quite out of the way. So obviously that must have some Buddhist relics inside it there too. It's one of the oldest ones in China. And you see how the location of it, there's a mountain here, a mountain at the back, a mountain at the side. The temple, the main temple is built on its own mountain there, and then there's another mountain on this side as well. So the whole area is called Wu Tai Shan, which means 5 big mountains. Well, we see the small one here is actually not one of the 5 big mountains. There are 5 big mountains around the area. But it's a very protected area. And when you go there, you could be in other parts of China. When you go here, the sun seems to always be shining, or even if it's snowing, it's very beautiful. And it's one of the only few places left in China where you see real monks. So it's still a working place where monks go, Buddhist monks go and live and stay. So there's another picture standing at the temple looking out. And you see the yellow roof here. A yellow roof indicates an imperial roof. And in fact, the only yellow roofs that are allowed are in the imperial palace. But they allowed them to build yellow roofs here. Yellow is the colour of the emperor. Because the emperor had a lot to do with the building of these temples. And so he permitted them to, it's basically an imperial place. So it's allowed to have yellow roof. There's some monks there enjoying themselves. All right, so another thing that I learned is that when you have wind chimes, people often, I have a little shop in Melbourne, a Feng Shui shop, and people come in all the time looking for objects, and they say they want a wind chime to hang in their house, and I say, well, if you're hanging it inside, it's not going to make any noise, right? But if it's hanging outside there, it will make a noise, and it will protect or attract some spirits to go there, which is what the Buddhists do too. They use it to attract the spirits to go towards the wind chimes, and maybe instead of coming into the building. So here we are, we moved to Hunan province, and in Hunan province we have a wonderful, amazing place, which is the home of the film Avatar. So if you've seen Avatar, you might recognise some of this landscape. It's just incredible. It's called Zhangjiajie. It's an area there where of the mountains also have wonderful shapes. So here we see the shape of what it looks like a turtle. A mountain that looks like a turtle, so they call it Turtle Hill. Here's one that looks like fairies sniffing the flowers, right? Now, I can't remember, do they actually call it that? I just made that one up myself. And then we have another one, golden toad swallowing the moon. So you see the symbolism there. But they actually do give names to all the mountains, special names. And so what we see, somebody else might not see. They might say, oh, that looks like some other creature, a fanciful creature. So on the road to that previous mountain with a big hole in it, there's other symbolism there too. You see how the road is so windy. Well, on the way up is some special animals to help protect the people when they're in the bus going up and down the road. These are called pishe. So you can see the golden pishe here. It's like, pishe is one of the sons of the dragon. The dragon has 9 sons, and this one has like a horn sticking out the back. And you see a couple of examples. Every corner has a golden pishe there. So someone with a lot of money, donated these things to help protect the pilgrims going up there. And then we move down to Guangdong province, of course. So I want to share this with you. Right down south. And this is what we would call the leg of the chicken, you see. The chicken can't survive without its leg, and the leg has got a lot of meat on it. Right? So this part of China, there's a lot of productivity, a lot of business comes out of this part of China. A lot of export. I export products from China, and our containers come from here. in this part of China. So this is the Chen Academy of Classical Learning. Somehow the words didn't come out. Classical learning. Basically the Chen family built they wanted to really build a family like altar, family room, family building, but they couldn't build it above a certain size. So instead of calling it the family temple, family altar, they called it an academy of learning. And in fact, a lot of the Chen family members would go there. There's 72 Chen families, and they put their money together to build this place. And they would go there to study for the imperial examination. But actually, it wasn't built until the late 1800s. And of course, after that, early 19th century, the imperial examination stopped. So I saw this quote, and it says that architecture is a long river connecting yesterday to today. And on the roof of the building is amazing architecture and amazing symbolism. You can walk around in this place, and you can look at it online as well, and see all the different photos of the different symbolic aspects representing Chinese opera and these funny creatures which are called piao. The protective dogs, they have a big mouth and they have no hole at the other end, so they take in all the bad things, right, and it doesn't come out again. And these drums at the front door, the size of the drums is very large. It represents a government official or having a high ranking, a high status, and these ones are very large, you see. So this is their ambition, to have a high ranking in the government. That's the whole ambition of passing the imperial examination. So this is the actual room, the imperial, the family altar. But actually it's not in use, you can see, because otherwise it would have a lot of writing representing the different family members. So that's at the back of the building, so I think they must have moved the actual family members somewhere else. And it's more like a museum these days. So it's an interesting building because they say that they call it a 9 halls and 6 courts building. So you have 9 halls, and each hall is higher than the next one. So as you walk in the front door, you're sort of going up and up, and then the family altar is in that building, which is a standard Chinese architecture. Always put the family hall at the back. And this is one reason why we say in Feng Shui, don't open up the front door in a straight line to the back, because the Shaqi attacks the family altar. So you don't usually open up like that. But in here, maybe they felt that there was some space, plenty of space in between. It's just an interesting design. You wouldn't usually see the door coming right in through the front like that. Usually it would be off to one side, see? Or even as you walk in the door, there's actually a spirit wall here, so you can't see straight in. They call it the spirit wall. And the lanes in between, they are to actually prevent fire. Fire jumping from one building to another. Because the thing that in the old buildings, they're all made of wood, that they really don't want to have fire happening, of course. So this is a period 2 building, and we see that the water star 1 is at the front door, which represents wisdom, which is what they were looking for. And then, of course, we have, when they change it into a museum, maybe they change the period of the building, and then as you approach the building, you come from this direction, which is a 4 and 1 combination, very good for academic success. So if you're studying flying stars and you know about 4 and 1 combination, then I can recommend something for you to use for that. So you see the 4 and 1, they come to the door, and then they bring the wisdom chi into the building there. So what I actually recommend is 4 writing brushes on a stand. It represents academic success. So if you're studying Feng Shui and you want to enhance your knowledge, you can study, put the 4 writing brushes. And in fact, last time I came, I sent a set to Sylvia as a gift, and she put them in her house. I'm not sure where she put them, but it worked quite well because within a month, she and I were both offered a job writing for a Russian Feng Shui magazine. So it worked very well for us. And we got paid, you see, so giving a gift has its rewards. So right down into the south of China now, we go into Hong Kong. And as I was saying, I run Feng Shui tours of Hong Kong. Now, the first thing is about, just want to show you this picture, water. The most important thing about water is that it should be dancing like this. This is a really amazing, wonderful temple. It's a Taoist temple in Hong Kong, and you can go there and pray for whatever you want. Any of the worldly, earthly things that people need, you know, academic success or love or health, all those sorts of things. This is what you do at a Taoist temple. At the next door, on the next train line, is another temple, which is a Buddhist temple. And usually when you go to a Buddhist temple, it's more for personal enlightenment. So this is a skyline of Hong Kong, and Hong Kong's a really amazing place because, of course, it has, every building is designed using Feng Shui, and I always love to go there. I was there last week before I came here. I went to Hong Kong and then Israel and then here, and it's just really wonderful to go there and actually study the buildings because you know that they've been designed using Feng Shui. So when I go to Hong Kong and I take groups there, we always go to, especially the central business district. You see the Bank of China, and the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank is here, the Chong Kong building, and many other famous places. Because even in Hong Kong, you know, they're narrowing the harbour to reclaim the land. And so by narrowing the harbour, they're restricting the water flow. So water is money. We want the money to flow. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you later.